Hello, and welcome to the Swords of St. Michael Spiritual Warfare Channel. My name is Farah Rose, Sister Farah Rose, professed lay Franciscan, and I want to welcome you to our Sunday edition of Formation. This is a series on the 12 steps of humility and pride, in case you're new. What we do here every Sunday is we cover a chapter of formation so that we can be ready for the spiritual warfare that we deal with every day. Like I said, this is Swords of St. Michael Network, and tonight, St. Bernard of Clairvaux goes into chapter 13. We're going to be talking about boastfulness, well, written for monks and, of course, the professed religious behind the walls. This is also very applicable to us today. So if you do not have your own copy of the 12 steps of humility and pride on loving God, below is a link that you can follow and download your own copy. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, there are links below to Patreon, donations, and whatever else you may need. So hang tight, grab your coffee, grab some popcorn. We're going to dive right in. As I said, this is Swords of St. Michael Network's Sunday presentation of Formation series where we work on Christian virtues. And I'm hoping you're going to enjoy this, hoping you're going to get a lot out of this. I am doing this live, so please bear with me as I say hello to my moderators. Hello, Sean, and welcome, and good to see you. Nice to see you, Billy. Tonight's show, we're going to dive into some temptation of vanity. We are in this ladder of humility and pride. We're in the prideful portion of the ladder, and we're going to be talking about boastfulness. And while I was explaining to everyone earlier, this is written for monks and monasteries and that sort of thing. It's very applicable for us today. It's very applicable for us that want to combat our own demons, that are fighting things every day that no one can see, or otherwise we want to become stronger as Christians. So I'm really hoping that that's why you're here. I'm hoping you enjoy this series. And also, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, please. Share it if you can on any of your social media with the hashtag Swords of St. Michael. And if you need prayer, please post in chat. We will get to it. And if you need anything such as spiritual warfare prayers, directions, books, resources, go to swordsofstmichael.org where we have the books that we've written for all sorts of spiritual warfare. Also, you might need a religious item, possibly a sacramental, a prayer, chaplet, or rosary. Go to prayersbythebead.com. And we are going to pray ourselves in. Welcome, everyone. In nomine Patri et Filio et Spiritus Sanctus, sic erat in principio et nunc et semper et saecula saeculorum. Sancta Michael Arcangele, defende nos in prelio, contra nequitiam et insidiis diaboli esto presidium. Imperit illi Deus, supplices deprecamur tuque, princeps maletia celestis satana maliosque, spiritus malignos, qui ad perditionem animarum perregantur in mundo divina virtute in infernum detrude. Amen. Suscipe, our study prayer. Suscipe Domine, universam meam libertatem, accipe memoriam, intellectum, atque voluntatum omnem. Quid quidabio vel possideo, mihi largitus si tibi totum restitsuo acture, prorsus voluntate trargu pernandum. Amore tui solum cum gratia tui mihi dones, et divis sum satis et caluit quidquam ultra posco. Amen. The 12 Steps of Humility and Pride on Loving God by St. Bernard of Clairvaux. Chapter 13. The 4th degree. Boastfulness. Boastfulness, the opposite of the 9th degree of humility, reticence. When vanity increases and the bladder begins to be inflated, it becomes necessary to loosen the belt and allow a larger outlet for the air. Otherwise, the bladder will burst. So the monk who is unable to discharge his superabundant store of unseemly merriment by laughter or by gesture breaks forth with the words of Elihu, "My belly is as new wine, which wanteth vent, which bursteth the new vessels." He must speak out or break down, for he is full of matter to speak of, and the spirit of his bowels constraineth him. He hungers and thirsts for hearers, at whom he may throw his banalities, to whom he may pour out his feelings, and let them know what a fine fellow he is. But when he has found his opportunity of speaking, if the conversation turns on literary matters, old and new points are brought forth. He airs his ideas in a loud and lofty tone. He interrupts his questioner and answers before he is asked. He himself puts the question and gives the answer. Nor does he even allow the person to whom he is talking to finish his remarks. When the striking of the silent gong puts a stop to the conversation, he complains that a full hour is not sufficient allowance and asks for indulgence that he may go on with his gossip after the time, for it is over, not to add to the knowledge of anyone else, but to boast of his own. He has the power, but not the purpose, of giving useful information. His care is not to teach you or learn from you things which he does not know, but that the extent of his learning may be made known. If the subject under discussion is religion, he is forward with his visions and his dreams. He upholds fasting, prescribes vigils, and maintains the paramount importance of prayer. He enlarges at great length, but with excessive conceit, on patience, humility, and all the virtues in turn, with the intention that you, on hearing him, should say, "Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh," and that a good man out of his good treasure bring forth good things. If the talk turns on light subjects, he becomes more loquacious, because he's on a more familiar ground. If you hear the torrent of his conceit, you may say that his mouth is a font of such buffoonery as to move even strict and sober monks to light laughter. To put it shortly, mark his swagger in his chatter. In this you have the name and description of the 4th degree of pride. Remember the description, avoid the reality. And with this warning, we'll go on to the 5th degree I call eccentricity. Hello again, everyone. I want to welcome you to this Sunday's version of our formation class with St. Bernard of Clairvaux. I also want to welcome members of live chat and those of you who have liked the video. Welcome Sean Marie and welcome Nathan to this channel on spiritual warfare and seeking the virtues through our own individual Christian walk. If anybody needs prayer, please post. We'd be glad to pray for you. If anybody is interested in baptism, why we baptize, or anything else, hey, reach us at swordsofstmichael.org. We'd love to help you. This week, we are covering, so if you are ready with your journals, get them out. We're going to talk about what this chapter covers in boastfulness and how we can be observant and cognizant in our lives of where this temptation is to fall into the trap of the conceit of gossip, bragging, and boastfulness. Now, we want to, Edgar's here. Good evening, Edgar. He's one of our regulars. And you're going to hear me say hello in chat because I don't get to go live very often. So this is a real treat. And I'm hoping you like the video. Give it a thumbs up, please. And if you'd like to support the channel, the links are below. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications. If you don't hit bell notifications, you will not be reminded when we go live. Our next live will be Wednesday, and it will be a movie review. Totally different. So as I was saying, this chapter this week is on boastfulness. And as I mentioned earlier, St. Bernard writes for the cloistered nun, for the monks that are living behind walls, that may only have an hour in which to speak a day, because they live strict lives, where you and I, living among other Christians, living among other non-believers, this is still an applicable lesson for each one of us. And I want to go over it. As I said earlier, if you do not have your own copy of this 12 Steps of Humility and Pride, look below. The link is below. You can download it for free and follow along. It's wonderful reading, and it's inspirational. It's one of these reads that you'll keep on your shelf, and every now and then you may want to go over and you may want to read it. Yes, Anne, that was the name in there. And you'll see that in the meditations and the Bible passages that we're going to go over. It's in Job. So in this fourth degree that we're talking about in boastfulness, I really want to point out that boastfulness, as it's interpreted for this concept of these monks, is different in a certain degree as it is with us in our daily lives and how we live our lives and how we approach others and what it is and where it is that we're going to find our need to boast. As always, as I've said in other lessons, scrupulosity is not a good thing. What we're looking for here in our own spiritual walk, in our Christian desire to be Christ to others, we're looking to temper who we are, what we know, with a gift of love, generosity, and humility. How can we do that? What is boastfulness? Boastfulness is not relating who we are or how we are. It is right and it is just, according to Thomas Aquinas, if someone says, "So I understand that you are a math teacher, and what are your credentials to tutor my child?" It is not boasting if you said, "Well, I attended Cornell for 2 years. I did my undergrad over there at Yale. And then I finished up my studies at Chicago because, I wanted to diversify the mathematical situation that I found myself in," whatever. It is not bragging. It is not boastfulness in context to share who you are, how you do what you do. The boastfulness we're talking about here is the welling of Thomas Aquinas would call it disordered passion and subverted pride to, well, I just got an award at work. I just got this fabulous award. I got to go tell somebody about it. Instead of somebody seeing the award on your wall and saying, wow, that's pretty impressive, you're actually looking for people because you need the applause. Your vanity is seeking a fertile ground to sow adulation, admiration, and exaltation because you're so wonderful. This is the difference. It is a fine line. However, I'm going to give you a couple more examples too. When we're talking about our tendency to boast or be over boastfulness, God bless you, Nathan. I'm going to pray for you. This book is really amazing and it's very eye-opening. And if you can go back to the start, excuse me for interrupting my flow here, but there's much packed into each chapter as it relates to you and I. I'm not in a cloister. You may not be a monk. However, if we're going to fight the spiritual warfare, if we're going to exercise our own personal demons, if we're going to take the hell that we've walked through and turn it into a heaven for someone else, we have to do the work of knowing who we are, knowing who Christ is in us, and sharing it appropriately, instead of spewing it and confusing people. And that's what this chapter is about. Excuse me, I gotta have some lemon water. Matter of fact, let's just go to our little screen here, because this one, whoops, that's the book. Sorry, guys. We're gonna go to our text slide. We have to look at the things that tempt us, and what are these things? These are going to be our passions. So when I'm talking about, typo, when I'm talking about the passions that we could potentially boast about, I'm talking about, let's say, I'm a professional singer and I was trained by, this exclusive voice coach, and I just landed this killer gig out in New York to sing in this beautiful cathedral because I have a 3.5 octave range. And I'm telling, my friends at dinner that night that, oh yes, they're going to buy my gown and they're flying me out and everything else. Now, this isn't really sharing with a friend that you would, in the ordinary measure of conversation, share something with somebody that cares and loves about you, that would be happy for you. This is finding an opportunity for eager ears to say, wow, look at you go. Wow, look at what you're doing. Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I had that. This is what we're talking about, the fine line of boastfulness. There is a time and a place for everything. And sometimes if people want information, there is nothing wrong with sharing who you are to a certain degree. However, boastfulness is seeking others' approval at the expense of their time and wasting their time while you act like a braggadocio and just go on and on and on about how wonderful you are. That's the difference here. There is nothing wrong with an enjoyment and a sharing of who you truly are and who your passions are. So, let's go to a little bit more specific indicator here, because I was writing something down too. When we're looking at, where do we find ourselves being boastful? And when I pray about these lessons, I think about how it could apply to each of us. I'm a female, so I usually come from a female perspective, but I place myself as much as I can in a masculine situation, trying to think of, where do we see men struggle with having to boast? Where do we see children struggle with wanting to share Where do we see them? Where do we see the invitation to temptation? And if we look at what we're passionate about, what are we passionate about? Are we passionate about, that we have a lot of information? Are we passionate about horse races? Are we passionate about stock cars? Are we passionate about football games? And in those passions, rightly shared, it's fun and it's back and forth and it's a repartee of people participating in enjoyment, in passion, or as the book outlined, in religion. Oh, yes, you've got to do vigils and you got to do this and you got to do that. You got to do that. Okay, that's preaching to the choir. They're probably already doing it. So we're looking to look at the natural and right ordered sharing of information, as opposed to, this is what I love and this is what I know, and I know this and this and this, and I'm trying to impress upon you how much knowledge and how much smarter and how brilliant I am. This is the big difference. And when we write in our journals this week and we look at the areas of our lives that we are finding ourselves needing to boast or brag about our merits, what I want us to pray about is not just where we feel, insecure. I have found myself in numerous venues. I am a college dropout. I love to read. I love to educate myself on many topics, especially psychology, psychiatry, and the medical, organic causes of mental illness, et cetera, et cetera. So I continue to study. I don't have a degree. It doesn't qualify me for anything, but it doesn't disqualify me for some things. And so why I'm using this instance is there have been many opportunities for me in certain situations, volunteering for cities, volunteering writing grants, working in arts institutes, working in poverty coalitions where, I was able to take my talents as a speaker and my knowledge and studying human behavior and working with various groups of people in certain sectors. And I was able to speak about them with knowledge and great confidence. And when confronted in private rooms and in groups by people that had PhDs and masters, and, they were talking demographics and they were talking this and that, I could easily talk right with them because I understood what they were talking about, but I felt challenged back then. I felt inadequate because I didn't carry that piece of paper, or I didn't have that 30 years that they had with that targeted expertise, because my expertise is a little here, 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 and here. So I was tempted to boast, well, I've had this, and I understand, I respect where you're at. That was my temptation to boast. And this is what I'm telling you. In our lives, we have those moments where we feel almost inadequate, almost insecure. We feel like we could be doing more, or maybe we could be sharing more, or maybe that we missed out on paying attention and we've got to struggle to keep up with everyone. That could lead us to boastfulness. So, in what circumstances do we find ourselves kind of inwardly threatened? That's what I'd like to look at, and I'd like to address this. There's a comment in chat here. It's pretty important. I agree. A lot of boastful behavior is as opposed to due satisfaction with achievement, and it's built upon exaggeration and the desire to inflate the self beyond its natural boundaries. And this is really important to look at, because as Thomas Aquinas says, out of right order, we're all over the place, and there are no parameters. And in boasting, as Edgar is talking about here, when we inflate ourselves, as this chapter was talking about, as the bladder inflates, the belt must open or it's going to burst. When we overinflate ourselves to other people, what we're basically doing is we're putting them in a lower position and we're placing ourselves in a higher position. That alone should tell us that we're insecure. And this is an opportunity for us to know ourselves, step back, and ask, what are the fruits? What is going to be expected of me if these people believe the lies I am boasting about? Release the truth. It doesn't have to defend itself. So, in this sense, we are given a key. We're given this beautiful key to take a look at ourselves and say, wow, God, this is not serving you, and it's definitely not serving me here. And I think you guys, thank you so much for the feedback from the chat, because when I pray about this and I get these ideas, it's like, it's amazing that, I get the feedback from you, and I really thank you. And yes, people do borrow from other people and claim other people's, they claim other people's positions, experience. They falsely claim from other people. And it's not just, it's not just an insecurity. It's almost a need. And this is another thing in mental health. It's because insecurities and people with insecure attachments are kind of like little children constantly throwing a tantrum. Me. Look at me. And then you have people that, for lack of a better word, suffer from some sort of post-traumatic stress, that their ability to feel validated is threatened by others' success. So when we look at ourselves and try to understand the root cause of the spiritual warfare within us, we have the ability to invite Christ in and allow us to lean on Him to not be insecure. To be cognizant and practice our own cognitive behavioral therapy and say, I don't have to be this way. I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not. It's really hard. But it is the basis for Spiritual Warfare 101. If we do not look in the mirror and see who we are believing the father of lies that has lied to us in our head. Period. Oh, and by the way, Anne, that's that Bible verse that I was telling you about, Job 32:19 and Matthew. These are the Bible verses that I was talking about that, we can think about. Yes, I agree. We are all part of the body of Christ. We all are. And we all have the opportunity every single day to acknowledge and be thankful for the gifts that we do have. We have the opportunity to expand upon the gifts naturally. And I want to say something about this really quick, because if you're watching me and if you're new to spiritual warfare, or maybe you're just considering, maybe I need that one more degree, maybe I should go back and get that 1 degree. Stop. Pray about it. It is out of right order to pursue that which is not naturally given to us. And what do I mean by that? It goes along the line of boastfulness. I'm not meant to be an Einstein. I don't have the capacity. I could have gone to school, for electronics or something else, because I'm really good at zapping stuff with electricity. It's not my gift. I could have pursued a career in any number of things. What I'm saying is that we have to pray for the guidance of God, the Holy Spirit, to enter into us and help us ascertain, am I using what you've given me to the best of my ability? And how can I expand this field for you? That is going to help us remain strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Not seeking out those things that, might not be a good fit for us. And this is where a good confessor, a spiritual director comes in. So if you do not have a pastor you can talk to, or if you don't have a priest you can talk to, or spiritual director, I would recommend that you pray to find one. And I know I need to do a video on how to find and interview a good spiritual director. And I promise you that'll probably be coming after Valentine's Day this year. When we need, we're never an island. When we need to run something by someone, retreats are always good. Because in retreats, we get into the Word of God and we get away from the externals. We get away from the need and the demands on our time every day. And I'm hoping that if you take away nothing from this chapter, that whether we realize it or not, there's opportunities for us every day, every week, to expand who we are that is not true. And in remaining and being grateful for what is true, expands God's glory, as Edgar was saying earlier. So I think I got a question from chat I'm going to address real quick. Yes. The question is it true that to doubt is to dialogue with the devil? That's a really good question, Sean. And also the one above it. We must not be scrupulous in the fact, Nathan, that we're going to slip up a lot. All right? Everybody in this room, we're all saints. We are sinners. And we're not where we need to be yet. But we're trying to get there. For us to be angry with ourselves, frustrated, disgusted, God's not going to like that. I guarantee you that. He does not want us angry. He does not want us disgusted. He does not want us to give ourselves any negativity any more than he does. He's already forgiven us. He's already pushed us forward. He's already loved us. We identify the crutch and we move forward. And if we're still holding on to that crutch, that doesn't mean that God's going to kick it out from underneath us. That means he's just going to go, okay, all right, keep coming, keep trying, I'm waiting. We are to continue to go forward. We have to continue to go forward. And hold on a second, Sean, I'm going to address this later because Billy's got something that's so cute. Is this the problem? I want to go back to school. Is it because of this? It very well could be. It very well could be a deep-seated need. When I counsel people or I take on new directees, what I have them do is I have them make lists and keep journals all the time. And when you want to make a decision of this magnitude, should I go back to school? You need to write a list of the top 100 things you want to accomplish this life. And then you want to take off 50. Then you want to take off 25. Then you want to take off another 10. And you want to look at what's left. Because we have a finite amount of time to do what God needs us to do. And yes, it is good to desire more in our heart than we can actually do. However, to punish ourselves, to call ourselves names, to belittle ourselves for not doing what some record in our head says we're supposed to be doing is nothing but dangerous, and it is the devil's dance. It's a lie, because you're more than enough. Let me get to Sean's question here. Sean was, as to doubt is the devil's dance. Okay, what we need to do, all right, Sean, when we look at, welcome Ashley, when we look at doubting ourselves, to doubt is not the devil's dance. However, where is that source of doubt, and where is that doubt being applied to? Let's just talk about, all right, I'm praying the rosary and I'm just saying it by rote. Yes, God bless you. God bless you, Nathan. We go forward in confidence. We're already loved. We're already forgiven. When we look at doubt, let's say I'm praying the rosary and it's like, okay, I'm just saying it by rote. And I'm like, oh my gosh, should I pray the rosary again? God's not going to like it. I didn't do it right. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. Did God even hear me? Should I start the novena again? That sort of doubt is not the devil's dance. That's scrupulosity. What is scrupulosity? Scrupulosity is blowing something out of proportion that is not rightly ordered. Now, what do I mean by rightly ordered? Rightly ordered would be, okay, so I didn't really feel it like I did yesterday. Maybe I won't feel it like I did tomorrow. But God knows the intentions of your heart. Never doubt for 1 minute. He sees our hearts. Guess what? Satan and his little cockroach minions, he sees our actions. So he sees our face drop. He sees our shoulders drop. He sees this and he's whispering in your ear, yeah, you should start that over. You did horrible. Oh my gosh, God doesn't even love you right now. You're terrible. He's going to whisper everything into your ear to confirm that ugly negative thought you just had. That's not dancing with the devil. That is giving into a scrupulosity that is not right order, nor does it belong in your mind. I hope that explains that. And it's amazing to me how we don't realize, yes, all glory and honor is God's alone. We don't realize, honestly, how much we have been given sometimes until we hear it out of another's mouth. Wow, this is this. And we're almost like in shock, because it's like, is that really me? Sometimes it's hard to believe. And we need to have a little bit more confidence that we're given everything we do need. And there was a comment, the last note I want to make on boastfulness tonight, by Edgar in the group here. He was talking about a woman who was married to a neurosurgeon, and the man died and she was bereft. That was her claim to fame. That was somebody I knew very well, very dearly, and very close, and she died probably 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. She was married to a doctor, very well-known doctor. And she didn't call herself by her name, but I am Dr. So-and-so's wife. I am Mrs. Dr. So-and-so. And that was the identity. That is beyond a boastfulness. That is, I would call almost, it's not a disassociative identity, but that is a lack of identity and a need to associate with something else, because who I am is never going to be good enough. There's no self-esteem. There is no sense of self. So I must be this doctor. And this is very, 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 because the nature of our world, this has been very prevalent for many, many, many generations and thousands of years, because women were who their husbands were. It's you know what? That's who they were. You married a candlestick maker, you were just a candlestick maker's wife. If you married, pastor, you were the pastor's wife. Everything, your status of who you were depended on who you were married. That would dictate your level of education. That would dictate your level of ease in living. That would dictate your children. So we no longer live in those stringent, I mean, not here in America, but in some places, in some cultures, in some third world countries, that is very true. And in India, the caste system is alive and well. So we're so very blessed. We are so very blessed to have the ability to pray publicly, to worship publicly, to fight publicly. All the negativity, all the years of social programming, cultural norms. We can be everything that Christ set about his apostles doing. We can go out 2 by 2 and take cookies and milk. Okay? We don't need to take the Bible and go beating people over the head. Okay? That's just I mean, it's an interesting idea for some groups, but hey, I'm all about evangelization. Like St. Bernadette said, I just came to release the truth and it can defend itself. That's what we have to do. So I am ready to wrap it up for the evening. I want to thank you so much. I know, yay cookies, right? Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. It's always a pleasure to be able to do live shows because I get such great feedback and it's so inspirational because I really love doing these formation series videos. So if you can, give it a thumbs up, a like, because it goes higher up in the algorithm of YouTube. And if you can, subscribe. The links are below. Get your copy. I want to thank you and welcome new people tonight. Nathan, it was good to see you. And like I said, the next live show will be Wednesday, where we're going to do a movie review. God bless each and every one of you. If anybody needs prayer, don't forget to pop it in as I run the final credits. But like I said, this is Farrah Rose here with Sword St. Michael, hopefully helping you win the fight and win it right. God bless you. I pray for you, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Until next time, God bless you all, and good night. Oh, thank you so much, Edgar. Thank you for the super chat. God bless you guys.